The censorship we saw on the old Twitter was just ridiculous. People getting silenced for just giving opinions that employees at Twitter didn't agree with. Mark Zuckerberg put out an apology, and he talked very openly how the Biden administration forced him to censor certain information. There was even an organization in the UK that had on their agenda, kill Twitter. I wanted to check on ChatGPT. Can you tell me about Patrick? Why is he facing 3 years in jail? It said, sorry, I cannot help you there. I just want to know what the tweet was about. I promise you, all it says, sorry, I cannot help with this. When he went all in on backing Trump, I didn't expect it. He's like, I endorsed President Trump, and then just was his biggest backer publicly with the America PAC. Said on the Tucker Carlson show, he's like, I worry if Biden remains president, I could be in jail.
Yeah, I could be in jail.
He's changing governments through those that now other governments want to do. He's taking people to another planet. He was the one to trigger that fight for free speech. I don't know how he does it. Historians are going to be studying this guy and how he managed to do so much, like we study people in our history over the last couple of thousand years.
This is the home of the free speech. This is Televizja Republika, and we are having a special guest, Nawfal. Great to have you here in Poland.
Michael, it's an honor to be here.
So let's start with the question that probably comes to mind of lots of our viewers. You are an online superstar, a truly superstar of a new kind of media that actually exists for some time. What is the secret behind the great numbers that your online activity gets on Platform X?
First, I don't think anyone understands how big those numbers are. Even I don't understand how big they are. The impressions we get a month is 2 to 4 billion impressions with a B. You know, these are numbers that CNN, Fox, MSNBC struggle to get. And it shows the power of, you know, not a bit what we're doing, but also X as a platform. So X just completely democratized access to news. And it also allowed people to be, you talked about free speech, and what you guys do here, it made it a lot, it gave protection. Now, you guys are being targeted. I'm hearing stories about the police were here a few days ago. I'm interviewing Patrick in a bit, one of your politicians who's facing 3 years in jail for liking a post. It's just a normal post that people like in the US all the time. And what Elon did with X is give people like yourself, like Patrick, and like myself, just that protection to be able to be free and talk about what we believe is the truth.
Mario, but I was on formerly Twitter since 2009, and I'm a conservative journalist. I used to be a conservative activist, probably some would call me. But I was always in a kind of shadow banned bubble inside the Twitter, which was supposed to be an online community of free speech. However, after many years, we've just realized that it wasn't the way it worked. And the funny thing is that now, when X was taken over by Elon Musk, we hear from the same mainstream media that actually it is being censored right now, which you say is completely opposite to the main narrative that we hear.
Yeah, look, I think people underestimate how important this has been. The censorship we saw on the old Twitter, and you saw in the Twitter files, was just ridiculous. People getting silenced for just giving opinions that employees at Twitter didn't agree with. And a lot of times it wasn't Twitter, it was the government, like you guys, again, facing here in Poland. The government would pressure companies like Twitter, would pressure, Mark Zuckerberg put out an apology, and he talked very openly how the Biden administration essentially forced him to censor certain information. And we saw even on Twitter's side, they tried to resist a lot of these requests. What happens is when you centralize power within a few in being able what to censor, that eventually, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So that eventually gets corrupted. What Elon's doing now is he's democratizing or decentralizing that power of censorship, or not censorship, I'd say, of determining what should not be posted at all, what is illegal, what is not, and what is misinformation, which is what everyone likes to use the word misinformation, is decentralizing in what Meta's doing as well through community notes. So allowing the people to determine, the people to say, okay, this is not true, this is true, and to even correct politicians. So usually it's politicians correcting the journalists, telling people what to believe. Now you've got the people in a decentralized fashion putting community notes Senator Warren had one recently, Senator Elizabeth Warren in the US. She had a community note where she said, I don't accept any money from the pharmaceutical industry.
And we saw proof. And we saw proof in the community note.
Yes, you do, and there's the proof. So it's the people are getting the power again. As cheesy as it sounds, that's happening in the US.
Mario, but on the other hand, as we speak, as those things are happening right now, and the online community all over the world can follow those incredible action developments, we hear that probably the richest man on earth, which is Elon Musk right now, claims that the companies that can advertise themselves on Platform X are in a kind of conspiracy, I would call it, not to buy the advertisements over there. And we are having billions of people over there sharing opinions. We are having the same kind of problems in the regular traditional media in a way. As we speak, the same kind of thing is happening right here in Poland, around our TV stations, because of some political reasons. So no matter how numbers are big, we are the biggest station in Poland right now, X is probably the most influential platform online, we are still having the same kind of problems. What's your take?
I have good news for you.
You are also an entrepreneur, so this is also a question to you as a businessman.
Exactly, because I face similar backlashes. Elon took on that fight, and Elon won. I had Linda Yaccarino, the CEO of X, on my show, and we had that discussion, and she told me that most advertisers are back. So Elon took a massive risk. He had the money to take that risk. Many people don't. And when advertisers get weaponized, the way that happened against Twitter and other companies, it sucks up the revenue. It just kind of, they have a stranglehold around the company through the advertisers indirectly. And that happened. It's not a hidden secret. That was very overt about it. There was even an organization in the UK that had an agenda, Matt Taibbi, and I can't remember the other journalist's name. They did an expose on it. And there was an organization, a non-for-profit in the UK, that had on their agenda, kill Twitter. Do you remember that? Yeah. Kill Twitter.
Newsmax in the US had the same kind of problem, actually is facing the same kind of problem of NGO that is targeting a certain TV station or online outlets only because they're growing.
Yeah, so that's a strategy they do. It's a very difficult one. I love your model. So we were talking behind the scenes here, and for anyone around the world, it's a fascinating model. What you guys did is crowdfund it. So you had like a ticker, you showed me earlier. You had a ticker on your screen and telling people to support you. It's incredible what you guys are doing. It's incredible. I think it's something that a lot of other stations should learn from. You don't depend on banks. You don't depend on VCs. You don't depend on advertisers. You've just positioned your model in a way that you cannot be corrupted, because now the people are supporting you.
You know, what's the most important factor and the reason for which we decided to use crowdfunding as a basis of... We are in a brand new studio that is being under construction right now, thanks to our viewers. Thank you, guys, because our investors are people who are just watching our TV. So we just have to be credible. We just have to be just. We have to be fair towards our viewers. If we are not, we're going to lose our funding. And that brings me to another topic that I wanted to have your opinion about, the cryptocurrency market. Many people do not understand this new model of economy. How would you describe the model of cryptocurrency market that you are operating on?
It's very relevant to what we're discussing. So the reason, for the viewers, the reason you're asking me this question is, and the reason I'm not susceptible to advertisers not advertising on our show is that we don't have advertisers. I don't need them. So there's a large company behind the scenes, over 200 employees, really large company that funds what I do on the political and news side. So everything I do on Twitter, I fund myself. I don't need advertisers. And I fund it through an incubator and an investment arm that we have, which is in crypto and AI. And the reason I said is very similar to what we're discussing is we talked about decentralizing or democratizing power or influence through free speech, and what you guys are doing through crowdfunding and what Elon's done through community notes. Well, crypto is essentially the same thing. Crypto is all about decentralization. It's decentralizing the transfer of value. You don't need banks anymore. That's a big thing. You don't need, for countries, you don't need the US dollar anymore, or the euro, or the renminbi, or whatever other currency. You don't need that anymore. You have Bitcoin. You don't need banks. You could just send Bitcoin from one person to another. And it gets more granular than this. You have Ethereum allows people to build essentially anything in a decentralized way. So essentially what crypto's done That's like the second most revolutionary thing for humanity after AI. AI is insane. But the second most revolutionary thing for humanity is crypto, because it essentially decentralizes everything.
But if you are talking about the currency, and Bitcoin is a currency, and the cryptocurrencies, the value comes from something. In a traditional economy, it comes from labor, it comes from capital. What does the value come
in the traditional world,
market?
It doesn't come from labor, it doesn't come from capital, it comes from trust. Now, Argentina had labor, they had capital. Lebanon, Zimbabwe, they had that.
I agree with
people
that.
Didn't trust their currency.
That.
So people trust the US dollar because they know the US government is the most powerful. They've got the most powerful military.
But there is some real power behind this trust. You mentioned power. Yes, US is the global powerhouse right now, which is the reason for which US dollar is the world currency. And we got the oil, which is also behind the traditional economy. So we got the combination of those three factors, meaning the value that is behind the world currency, which is dollar. What is the currency? What is the value behind the cryptocurrencies?
So behind Bitcoin or crypto in general, when I say trust, if you look at gold, what's the trust behind it? It's scarcity.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin essentially, trust becomes more of a, the more people trust it, becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the more people trust a certain asset class, it becomes trustworthy because more people are trusting
but it's very close to the Ponzi scheme. I think that people are very scared of this kind of self-propelling value without backing of a real thing that we can touch or think of. I understand that this is a digital code, which is this unique value that Bitcoin possesses, but this is a thing that is very hard to be comprehended by masses of people.
The Ponzi scheme discussion was 5-6 years ago. I think now when you have BlackRock, the biggest asset manager in the world, fully backing Bitcoin and having a Bitcoin ETF, they're fully behind it. When you have governments, including the most powerful government, you're talking about governments, well, the biggest government in the world is supporting Bitcoin.
Yeah, I got a friend from my basketball team who were very glad that Donald Trump won the election, not because they are conservatives or liberals, no, because they invest in Bitcoins. And they said that the single thing that had so big influence on their personal assets is that Donald Trump won the election because he invested his credibility in Bitcoin market.
And he's one of many other world leaders that are going, Bukele being another great example, that have gone down that path. So I think governments are already backing it. When you talk about Ponzi scheme is a model, it's like a pyramid, where each person only makes money by bringing others into it. This is very different. This is a financial model that doesn't apply to gold.
So it's impossible on the cryptocurrency market?
Yeah, no, it's very possible. There's a lot of scams in crypto, a lot of scams.
So what makes Bitcoin unique and other currencies?
BlackRock, the United States government, $1 trillion market cap, millions of holders. So I think it's gone to a stage where it's going to become bigger than gold very soon. It's a scale, and it's the trust that was built into it. What makes some people call the US dollar a Ponzi scheme?
Yeah,
I think it is.
Of course, this is a big question since US dollar is not backed by gold. Some say it's backed by the oil.
The trust of the US government.
There is a big question behind the reasons for which oil is being traded only by US dollar.
If I give you a US dollar right now, I'm sure you'll take it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure anyone else will take it, and vice versa. Because you trust it, he trusts it. Yeah. That trust is very difficult to break, but it's very delicate as well. Once trust, we saw that in 2008, once trust breaks, it breaks fast.
That's the reason why I asked a question about the Ponzi scheme in a way, because we are talking about the big trust and big money, big market.
I don't think you can get the biggest asset manager in the world, BlackRock, and the biggest government and military in the world, the United States, they're both backing Bitcoin. I think we're past the stage where is it a good store of value? Is it a currency? Is it an asset class? I think that argument, I used to have that argument years ago.
Yeah, but Mario, there is another, because I don't want you to feel that we are talking about this side of the thing, because the rest of this entity, the crypto market, whatever you call it, is very interesting, because I think that I don't like the word democratical in a way, but it seems to me that this is a proper world. It is a democratic system, which is very similar to what is going on in the online media 100%. In a way.
What crypto's done, similar to what's done as Bitcoin, is technologically it allows things to decentralize. What people don't understand right now in using everything in the world, everything is completely centralized. We're both possibly using an iPhone. We both have WhatsApp on there. We're probably talking on WhatsApp. We're both using AWS or Google Drive. There's a handful of companies that control all aspects of our life. We both have credit cards that we use by similar banking institutions that use the SWIFT system. So as the world got more globalized and technologically advanced, it allowed power to centralize. And you've got a very small number of companies that have immense, and now with AI, taking it to another level. So what crypto allows people to do technologically is the same thing we've done with news, is it allows people to decentralize all these different things. Whether it's launching a decentralized version of Uber, decentralized version of money, a decentralized version of gaming. You can play games, but no one controls the game. The game itself is decentralized. It's essentially bringing ownership back to the people and no longer having central entities that control those aspects of our lives. That is very quietly but quickly gaining a lot of traction. Like we're seeing in the mainstream news, people are starting to realize that, hey, my life is controlled by these people. And once that control gets abused, people click. Once a company does, like I have an interview with Patrick, one of your politicians, after this. And I wanted to check on ChatGPT. Hey, can you tell me about Patrick? Why is he facing 3 years in jail? And it said, sorry, I cannot help you there. I'm like, why? I just want to know what the tweet was about that he liked. Sorry, all it says, I promise you, all it says, sorry, I cannot help with this. I asked it 3-4 times, ChatGPT.
Did you ask the ChatGPT what is the reason for which you cannot ask?
Yes.
If we are talking about the artificial intelligence, that's an obvious question.
Sorry, I cannot help with this. I promise you, my team is going to post about it. So I went on DeepSeek, which is the Chinese open source one. It answered fully. And I asked my team to check in the US. It answered fully. So it's being censored in Europe. So once people start to feel that, like, hold on, we're all relying on ChatGPT to answer everything about our life, medical,
etc. So is there a blockchain technology, the cryptocurrency way of organizing online things gives us as a human race a technology that can override this political bias that we are talking about?
It's overriding centralized power. Whether it's political bias or otherwise, it's centralized power. So essentially, artificial intelligence will essentially be democratized because we're all relying on these algorithms that are controlled by OpenAI, that are controlled by Google and Gemini. So these big companies are controlling everything we believe. Everyone checks everything with ChatGPT. So when you
how do we know if we are not? I'm not a programmist. I do not know how to code. How can I trust? How can I be sure that behind this blockchain code there is no one, whatever you call it, person, entity, company that controls the code that I don't understand?
It's so obviously you have to be technologically savvy to be able to check that. But we've had a lot of and I'm not either. So you had a lot of these technical people that check it. Everyone knows that technologically it's impossible to centralize. No human can control biology. Okay. Biology is biology, at least not yet. Biology is biology. So it's like, we know, I'm not a scientist, you're not a scientist, but we know it cannot be changed. So the same thing with the blockchain. Now, it does not mean, I just want to be clear, for anyone listening, I've been in this space for many, many, many years and I have a large company there. There's a lot of scams, a lot, especially when you go into meme coins.
Yeah, sure.
A lot. And anyone that doesn't understand crypto that wants to, hey, I want to make quick money, it could backfire. I think what's more interesting is the evolution that's happening. If you want to learn about it, go deep into it, great. But the society itself is changing in such a rapid way with the breaking up of censorship, with crypto decentralizing different aspects of our life, and with AI leading to a new species that's more intelligent to us. We're going through such an incredible transformation, and we're at a fork in the road, like Elon put a post, a fork in the road. Are we going to go down into that world that's more dystopian, that's controlled by a few, or a world that's really controlled by the people? As cheesy as it sounds, it's literally controlled by the people.
Mario, my final question, probably it's not going to be only one question, but we see great numbers, and we started this conversation with discussion about Elon Musk. Elon Musk, in a way, with his approach to business, changed the reality, not only the online reality, but the reality of the world we live in. What is the secret behind the great mind and idea of traveling to Mars, building a humankind, a human race interplanetary, as he says? What is the secret behind convincing people to use electric cars? What is the reason why Elon Musk is the personality that we see right now?
I have two answers to this. Number one is I do not know how the hell he does it. I really don't. And in a way, it drives me to work harder because I'm like, okay, I built this big company, but Elon has much bigger. Okay, I'm doing something new. I'm launching a new whiskey brand. I'm doing a whiskey brand. Elon's taking people to Mars. I'm like, all right, cool. I have a big show. Well, Elon reaches hundreds of millions of people a day. I can never get even close 1% to what he's doing. I don't know how he does it. And he always takes a risk. He doesn't. When he went all in on backing Trump, I'm like, I didn't expect it. I'm like, this is, like, he didn't just support him with a tweet. He's like, I endorsed President Trump, and then just was his biggest backer publicly with the America Pact.
All in.
I'm like, are you sure it's the right thing? And he even said on the Tucker Carlson show, he's like, I worry if Biden remains president,
lose,
I could be in jail.
Yeah, I could be in jail. That's what he
And
said.
last
It was all in. It was
very
a poker
serious.
all in. Yeah.
Very serious. And I'm like, how could he do that? And then every bet he does is so well calculated and ends up doing really well for him, but doing so much good to humanity. He's changing the world by backing Trump, who's really fighting for free speech. He's changing governments through DOJ that now other governments want to do. He's taking people to another planet. He was the one to trigger that fight for free speech, and I haven't even gone through the entire list. I don't know how he does it, but I'm so grateful. I think people in the future, historians, are going to be studying this guy and how he managed to do so much, like we study people in our history over the last couple of thousand years.
Mario, my final question. You are a young man, and you are an entrepreneur, you are a businessman, you create things. What's your message to the young people that are following your path, watching people like you, and what is the message that you would like to transfer to those people?
I think we probably live in a period with the most opportunities, period, for anyone to build something. You've got media being completely turned upside down. Trust, so people's trust, is desperate. People are desperate to find sources they can trust. This is something that you guys are doing really well and I'm trying to do. AI is changing everything about society. Obviously, we talked about crypto has decentralizing different aspects of humanity. So you have so much opportunity. And it's also a very scary time. What I would do if I was someone listening to this is really capitalize on those opportunities, because it could change your life from a financial perspective as an entrepreneur, but you could add so much value to humanity. And again, you guys are a perfect example of that in the way you've built all this. Your biggest channel here in Poland, crowdfunded. That's a perfect example of an incredible model.
Mario Nawfal, thank you very much for your time and for your presence. This is Televizja Republika. This is the home of this free speech.